What's going on, guys, and welcome back to #AskGSM episode 392 for Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is my 26th birthday, so we're going to kind of keep this on the shorter side so I can get going and do other stuff, but not the first time that I've actually had an episode of hashtag drop on my birthday. I think I recorded one on my birthday 7 years ago, not when we first started doing the show, which was 8 years ago, believe it or not, but back in 2014, it fell on a Monday. Pretty sure that was when I was doing the video version of this show, and I was wearing my AJ Styles shirt. So there's a first time for everything, but there's also a second time as well. And so yeah, interesting fun fact that I'm sure you don't care about. But today we're answering your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to send in a question, please do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. And, one last thing before we get started here. Check out my exclusive interview right now with WWE Raw superstar Shayna Baszler. This was recorded before she lost to Reginald, by the way. And the only reason I say in that interview I'm looking forward to her match with Reginald is to see her kill Reginald. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what happened. Not only did she not annihilate the dude, she lost. So, that was disappointing to say the least. But, check out my interview with Shayna that we recorded last Friday, went live on Monday here on the channel. You can also check it out in article form for the major highlights and the excerpts over on dailyddt.com. So let's get right into it. Your questions first from YouTube, from Super Pony First. Their question was, if Kevin Owens doesn't win the title, the Intercontinental Championship from Apollo Crews on SmackDown, who do you think will beat him for it? I was looking at the SmackDown roster, and there honestly aren't a lot of choices based off the current roster on SmackDown. Unless they break up like the Profits and they put Montez Ford in the IC title picture, which I guess is always possible, but I don't want to see that quite yet. I think the Profits have a lot more to do as a tag. I mean, I guess you can kind of branch them off on their own, but Dawkins ain't doing shit, let's be honest. So maybe as a far-fetched possibility, Sami Zayn's already gotten his run. Maybe if you were to turn him face, maybe, I would love to see him turn face again. But him and Crews, been there, done that. Big E, been there, done that. Kevin Owens now, been there, done that. Shinsuke Nakamura seems likely, but again, been there, done that. Crews kind of feuded with Nakamura earlier this year when he first went heel. Nakamura's been IC champion before. I don't really want to see that. The only other name that comes to mind is Cesaro, who has never been the Intercontinental Champion before. I don't know if we've ever seen Cesaro and Crews before, maybe once or twice. I can't remember many matches, if any, they've had on the main roster. Cesaro's kind of coming off the feuds with, he's still kind of feuding with Rollins right now. Coming off the feud with Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, which he's not going to win. Not right now, at least, maybe not at all. Probably not at all would be my guess. But the Intercontinental Championship would be a solid consolation prize for Cesaro. So maybe not yet. Maybe it's SummerSlam in front of fans. He wins it, gets a big reaction. But yeah, Cesaro's never been the Intercontinental Champion before. He has actually not been a singles champion in WWE since 2013, when he was last the United States Champion. He was the U.S. Champion for a good while. He won the championship within a few months of arriving on SmackDown. He dropped it to Kofi Kingston the next spring in 2013. And that was it. They never really, not that they didn't push Cesaro on his own after that, but they never really gave him a push, not even towards a top title, but not even towards a mid-card championship. Like, he got a couple of shots in 2014, 2016, but beyond that, he's largely been a tag team guy. With Tyson Kidd, Jack Swagger, Nakamura, Sheamus, you name it, he's probably teamed with them. So I'm hoping that at some point the Intercontinental Championship ends up around his waist. We go to the Twitter questions first from, let's see, at Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check out his show, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube. Does great work. His first question was, so would you consider Double or Nothing a success or failure overall? I thought there were good matches, or good moments rather, but also a few that either fell flat or took too long to get to. Plus the pay-per-view ran at least 30 minutes too long in my opinion. I don't think it could be considered anything but a success, in my opinion. I thought it was a great show. There is a case to be made that it is one of, if not the best pay-per-view they've done to date. And I know that sounds wild, But if you look at this pay-per-view, honestly, even going in, I thought there was every single match I was looking forward to on paper, which I honestly don't say a lot with these AEW pay-per-views. I feel like especially the recent ones, maybe not necessarily. I thought Full Gear was a very good show. Revolution, All Out last year, there were a lot of matches that just kind of felt fucking thrown together for the sake of happening. And this company only has 4 pay-per-views a year. You gotta make them feel special. Double or Nothing this year, I thought, felt special. You take away the crowd, is it as special? Probably not. Definitely not, actually, because I thought last year's Double or Nothing was very good. But it's just not the same without an audience. So we kind of had that this year with the audience, one of the first major shows back with a full-on crowd, and it really enhanced my enjoyment of the event. But it's not like they enhanced a bad show. I thought there were a lot of great matches, too. You mentioned the matches and moments that kind of fell flat, and I totally understand that, but I feel like every pay-per-view has that. No pay-per-view, for the most part, is perfect. Even my favorite match, even my favorite pay-per-view of all time, Money in the Bank 2011, had Kelly versus Brie Bella on the card, or Nikki Bella, or whoever it was, for the Divas Championship. You know, but like Double or Nothing, though, I thought the Ogogo Rhodes match was easily the weakest on the show. If that's what you're referring to, I completely agree, because that was just, it belonged on television. They did a weird job of building it. Ogogo as a threat to Cody, and then losing decisively. It's not even like Ogogo won in the fashion that Orange Cassidy did later on in the show. He just got beat clean straight up. And with Gregory Helms' old finisher, which was cool, but Cody's never used that as a finisher before. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere. It was a weird finish. The tag team title match was outstanding. The finish kind of fell flat. That was a bit deflating. The match itself was excellent. The women's match, the second one that is, wasn't great. I thought it was really good. I kind of liked it more than most. The Britt Baker-Hikaru Shida match. It definitely did go on a little long, as did the main event, as did definitely the world title match. They have a tendency to give matches more time than they need. The length of the show, this might be the first time, even honestly dating back to the first Double or Nothing, that I didn't mind it going almost 4 hours. Because at least all the matches I thought were great. Because there have been matches before on these pay-per-views where the shows go long, and I'm thinking, why the fuck did that match go 30 minutes? Because it wasn't very good, or it wasn't as great as it probably could have been. I thoroughly enjoyed Stadium Stampede. I thought the world title match was great. The outcome was obviously never in doubt. You knew Orange Cassidy wasn't winning. You knew Pac wasn't winning. That didn't stop the crowd from buying into every near fall. But I thought it was a great match, though. So it was definitely a success overall. The crowd enhanced the overall show. We got some cool surprises. I like the Lio Rush surprise, personally. I saw a lot of people, for whatever reason, shitting on it because it wasn't fucking Daniel Bryan. Get over yourselves. Like, first of all, did you think Daniel Bryan would debut in a fucking Battle Royal with a bunch of mid-carders? Second of all, that spot has never been reserved for a big surprise. It has literally always been someone of Lio Rush's caliber. They had Lio Rush this time. They had Matt Sydal the last time. They've had Mercedes Martinez in that spot. Like, they haven't had a fucking CM Punk in that spot before. Like, people treat it like it's the number 30 in the Rumble, which I guess it kind of is. But it's always been like a little cool surprise and nothing too major. So people got way too carried away with that. But I thought the Lio Rush surprise was cool. I like Lio Rush, so maybe I'm just alone on that. I don't know. The Mark Henry thing was cool. They didn't overly hype that up, which they should not have done, which I thought was very well done. It wasn't like the Christian thing where they were like, oh, big surprise, Hall of Fame worthy, blah, blah, blah. And then Mark Henry comes down. It's like, who gives a shit? I like Mark Henry, and because they didn't hype it up, I like it that much more. And he's a great get for them behind the scenes. As a commentator, whatever the fuck, he's going to be for Rampage coming up. So, yeah, I really liked the show overall, to be honest with you. I think the Rhodes Ogogo match was probably the worst on the show. I even thought the Battle Royal, which I typically, not that I hate them, but AEW does so many of these fucking casino Battle Royals. Like, they literally do. It's not a Double or Nothing thing. It's an all-out thing. It's a Full Gear thing. It's a Revolution thing. Like, holy shit, give it a break. They do it in almost every pay-per-view. But I thought here it was well done. It was one of the better Battle Royals I've seen from this company. The TNT title match I thought was good between Miro and Archer, a good hard-hitting hoss fight. I enjoyed that. Like I said, the tag team title match was good. The world title match was good. The Stadium Stampede I enjoyed. And there's probably matches I'm not thinking of right now, but overall I really did like the show. I thought they did a great job with it. And if people didn't like it as much and they thought it ran too long, like I said, it was probably the first pay-per-view that went long. that I didn't overtly mind. I was about to fall asleep during Stadium Stampede. I'm not going to lie to you. Almost midnight here on the East Coast. I can imagine how much worse it is for people in England and whatnot. Over in Europe across the pond, as WWE would say. But it was pretty fucking late for me. And the match didn't need to be almost 30 minutes. You could have cut out some shit. Like, they kind of had some repetitive spots. The world title match could have been shorter. It doesn't need to go the full 4 hours because they have so few shows. The shows aren't going to be 3 hours. I understand that. But unlike other pay-per-views they've done, there wasn't a match or two on this show anyway that I said, that didn't need to happen. Like even Rhodes and a Go-Go, you were going to get Cody Rhodes on the show. The match wasn't very good, but you were going to get Cody Rhodes on the show. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better, if not the best pay-per-view they've ever done. And the crowd obviously helped that. I thought Paige and Cage, too, I forgot to mention that, was a great opener. Deeb and Riho on the pre-show, probably one of the best women's matches I've ever seen in this company. Maybe not quite Rosa and Baker, the unsanctioned match, but as a pure wrestling match, it was awesome. John's second question here. Which company do you think will do better during their respective live tours, WWE or AEW, and why? I mean, probably AEW. When you say do better, what do you mean? Like, better people in attendance, or like how many people, or you mean like financially, or are we talking like the better shows? Because I'm going with AEW all the way. I think having crowds back for these Raws and Smackdowns will make the shows better, specifically Raw, which could fucking use it. There is going to be a honeymoon phase where people are going crazy for the first couple of shows, and then it kind of becomes business as usual, and it is what it is. I mean, I would love the hot crowds forever, but, you are more likely to get that in AEW than you are in WWE. That's just what it is. I mean, AEW just has the better crowds. They've always have. Just because they usually put on the better product, and the WWE crowds attract more, the younger people. I don't know about more females. I mean, there were a lot of fucking guys at the couple of AEW shows that I've been to. Way more guys than girls. But I mean, I've seen girls at the AEW shows. That's not really a factor. I'm talking about, like, the kids are definitely a factor. If you have more kids than adults, then it definitely alters the reaction to the shows because you hear more kid voices or no voices at all compared to the older guys or whatever. So I think it is good to have a mix. But anyway, I do think AEW, in terms of fan reactions, will be better. I think Double or Nothing show that. WrestleMania was awesome. I was there for that one. The difference between those two shows is that with AEW, I mean, it was just a smaller audience. They had more people at WrestleMania, but it was more spread out. It was a stadium. The reactions were great, but it wasn't as loud because it was more spread out. Daly's place, it was more of a confined space with more people kind of packed in there. So it sounded fucking raucous in there. But yeah, I think AEW will have, in terms of like better, in terms of better ticket sales, no one ever beats WWE for the most part in that respect. In terms of fan reactions, I'm going with AEW. AEW typically just puts on the better product, and I really do think having no fans has hurt the product. It's just not as exciting as it was, and the same goes for NXT. NXT has absolutely been hurt by no fans. And I know they have some fans there now, but it's like 25 people. Like, who cares? They need Full Sail back. They need the bigger arenas back for the takeovers. Otherwise, they don't feel as special. AEW proved that with Double or Nothing on Sunday. It was a much better show than it probably would have been if you didn't have a crowd there. Like, with the crowd there, it was a much better show. His third question, has WWE gone overboard with the Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley feud? Don't get me wrong, the matches have been pretty good and they both feel like top guys, but it seems like Hell in a Cell has to be the end, right? I mean, it will be. Here's my thing. I really don't care about the fact that the feud is gone up until this point. So I'm not going to go on a major rant about this, and I understand people feeling fatigue. Like, literally everyone that I've talked to has been like, oh, we're seeing this again. Like, I fucking get it, because it hasn't been like the most overly interesting feud. It's on a show that no one gives a shit about in Raw. It hasn't been terrible. The feud's been fine. The matches have been great. Drew is very good. Bobby is very good. It's better than the same old fucking people that you would have seen in the title picture 2 years ago. Like, it's not even like it's Roman Reigns. Like, Roman Reigns is on fire right now, but we've seen him in the title picture, or at least in the main event scene, for the last 10 years, the last 5 or 6, 7 years. Drew and Lashley were literally not even anywhere near the main event a year or two ago. Drew won the championship at WrestleMania, but before that, what was he doing? He was on fucking main event losing to Ricochet. Bobby Lashley was barely on the show. Nowhere near the main event. I am enjoying it while it lasts. They have good chemistry. The matches have been good. Bobby's been booked great. Drew, it makes sense. Like, they haven't even been 3 singles matches. Like, they had a match at WrestleMania. Yes, it is a little weird because Lashley won clean at WrestleMania. Why would you continue it after that? But Lashley won. Drew wasn't pinned at Backlash. Yeah, he still lost, but they didn't do a singles match. It was a triple threat with Strowman that I thought was a great triple threat. And Lashley won that too. There's a couple different factors here. They need more people to build up. Beyond just Drew and Lashley and the typical Strowman that they throw in there every once in a while. They need more main event people. I completely agree with that. But if we're going to get the same 2 people in the main event, I would rather it be Bobby and Drew. 2 people I really like, who I think are great, who are fresher faces in the main event. And not only that, people complaining that we're getting Drew and Bobby again at Hell in a Cell. I don't fucking get it, because like Hell in a Cell is intended to be the end of feuds. How many times have we complained, like, oh, why are they doing this match inside Hell in a Cell? It's their first encounter together. Why is it inside Hell in a Cell? Bayley and Sasha, that was the end of their feud inside Hell. I mean, they had a match after that, but, you know, that was their big blow-off, and that was their first match during that iteration of their feud. Why was it inside Hell in a Cell? Drew and Bobby have now had, you know, a couple of matches. The one at WrestleMania, again, they had a triple threat at Backlash. They had one on Raw that was also a great match. And that's it. So you can end it inside. If Drew wins it back, I can understand why people will be like, okay, this is too much, whatever. People are like, oh, are people already turning on Drew? I don't get why, though. He hasn't done anything wrong. With the Roman Reigns shit, people comparing him to Roman Reigns from 5-6 years ago, that wasn't Roman's fault either. And in terms of like in ring work and promos, Drew has already superseded what Roman was at that time. Roman was having great matches, but the promos were fucking terrible. Terrible. The biggest thing against Roman, this is why I hate the comparisons. People comparing Drew in 2021 to Roman in 2015, it's not even close. Because Roman at that point just wasn't ready. The promos were not good. The material they were giving him was terrible. The feuds that he was involved in were not very good. Drew has had much better feuds, much better promos. He is far more ready now than Roman was in 2015. I'm sorry, but that's a fact. Yeah, they continue to get all the shots and whatever, but I guarantee you, and maybe I'll be wrong and I'll look like an idiot, but I think after Hell in a Cell, Drew's time in the title picture is over for right now. They'll put the belt back on him down the road, I'm sure, but everything they have done with this guy for the last year and a half has made sense. It's not like he's been in the title picture every fucking month for 3 years straight. It's been a year. And they've been building other people up and giving other people shots. Randy Orton was in the title picture for quite a while with Drew. That was a feud I was fucking done with. Because the matches were good. That was something I just didn't really care about. Because Drew was the babyface champion. Why would you keep giving the heel challenger shots? That was what made no sense to me. This makes way more sense. Drew is in chase mode. It's not even like Drew got the belt back and Lashley is getting shots and Drew just keeps beating him. The booking has been perfect, honestly. It's not like they're changing the championship back and forth. Lashley has been dominant. He got pinned once by Kofi on Raw, and that's it, as a little shock win, which was cool. Other than that, though, he's been largely protected. Drew has widely been protected. I really don't see what the big problem is here. There are a lot of things to complain about in WWE right now. I don't think the Drew and Bobby feud should be one of them. That to me is just, I mean, opinion and preference or whatever, but like, and you're entitled to have them. I just don't see what the big deal is. There's a lot more issues with Raw right now than the WWE title picture. Yes, after Hell in a Cell, they absolutely need new people. Give it until Hell in a Cell. They can blow it off inside the structure, and then we can move the fuck on. Have Drew lose. Maybe Jinder and Drew, I don't want to fucking see, but I guess it makes sense. Whatever. You need more main event guys. It's as simple as that. Beyond Strowman, I don't give a shit about Jinder Mahal. AJ and Orton are busy right now in the tag team ranks. You need more top-tier talent towards the top of the card. I understand that. Let's deal with that after Hell in a Cell. Or, I mean, they should be dealing with it now and building people up for after Hell in a Cell, which they're not currently doing, which is a problem. The feud itself is not a problem. I mean, it's not even... I don't really think it's... If the matches are good, the promos are fine, and everyone's been booked well, and it makes sense for Drew to be in chase mode, I just feel like with some people, they have very short attention spans. It's like, oh, we already saw this match. We can't do it again next month. Like, they were doing... Triple H and fucking Shawn Michaels feuded for, what, 2 years in 2002, 2004? Like, I know it's different creative, and that's obviously the biggest factor. And the biggest difference between now and then is that the creative was just so much better back then. But you got to understand sometimes, people, that certain matches will last for a number of pay-per-views. That is a feud. They're not going to have a one and done most times, which we've seen a lot of in the last year, especially with Drew. Like, you had a one and done with Dolph. You had a one and done with Rollins. Like, some of these feuds, spoiler alert, are going to go beyond a certain amount of pay-per-views. 5 is ridiculous. 3, I think, is perfectly fine. Especially if it ends inside Hell in a Cell. That, to me, is perfect. At noob_n_co 1991, their first question was, let's see, do you think Nikki Cross should be Raw Women's Champion because her beating Charlotte and Rhea does not count as clean wins, and it's pretty much like, it put Rhea and Charlotte feud in a bad start. Got off to a bad start. No, she should not be Raw Women's Champion. Maybe at some point, I like Nikki Cross, but like, her outlasting Rhea and Charlotte for 2 minutes. I said this, in my Raw Talk review, but like, I could fucking do that. I'm sure you could too. Anyone can do that. Outlasting anyone for 2 minutes, I mean, it's not rocket science. Unless you're in there with Braun Strowman, he's going to fucking kill you. Then I don't think outlasting Charlotte and Rhea for 2 minutes by running around the ring is really that much of an this impressive feat. It really isn't. So, no, I'm glad that Nikki's even on the show, but the booking with this shit is terrible. Like, if Nikki got an upset win, like, the distraction roll-ups are terrible, but, like, at least if she got that is one thing. To me, by outlasting Rhea and Charlotte in 2-minute matches is not a victory. Maybe technically it is by their rules. To me, it is not. That is just stupid. It's 2 fucking minutes. It's not even like it was 5 or 10. Like, remember when Jungle Boy went the limit with Jericho? What was it? Fucking a year and a half ago or whatever on Dynamite. That made sense because it was a 10-minute match. 2 minutes it's nothing. They were walking around the entire time. And I don't really know what this has to do with Rhea and Charlotte and their feud, because they've technically lost now to Nikki Cross. I don't want to see another triple threat. Again, I'm glad she's back on the show for the first time in 6 months, but this isn't really a great way to reintroduce her to the show. Doesn't exactly make her look like a threat. If Charlotte's going to come back and beat her in a minute or two in a couple of weeks, maybe that's what this is building to, but not a great way to establish Nikki as a credible competitor in that Raw Women's division. Let's see, yet another question here. Let's answer that before we get to the other ones. Do you think the Raw Women's division is in dead water? Is dead in the water right now, even without the presence of Asuka. For moments such as Beat the Clock Challenge matches, Shayna's terrible booking, and the whole Lily and Alexa storyline, it's not refreshing, and it needs a serious shakeup. I mean, the Raw Women's division has been dead for a while. I mean, this is nothing new. It's been dead in the water for a long time now. When Asuka was champion, it was no better. Asuka was a fucking afterthought. For some reason, the Raw Women's division might be better off now than it was 6 months ago, which is not saying much because the current division is not great in terms of how they're handling these women. And I said this in my Raw review on WrestleRant.com the other day, but I mean, they had 3 different matches involving women this past week. They had the Naomi and Lana versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke tag team match, which was not very good, and I just don't give a shit about the women's tag team division. Has nothing to do with the talent. It has way more to do with how they booked these women. Didn't give a shit about that. Shayna and Reginald was a complete waste of time with Reginald winning. The Alexa Bliss and Shayna stuff, I mean, how can anyone even care when Shayna's a loser? If Shayna was built up to be dominant, different story. The way that she's been booked, who cares? Who gives a shit? And then we had Charlotte and Nikki in like a 2-minute Beat the Clock Challenge match. Again, who gives a shit? Asuka being there, not being there, it doesn't matter. The division is still dead in the water. The creative is terrible. It has never been more evident to me than in the last year that this women's wrestling, at least on Raw, I mean, SmackDown isn't that much better, but it is better. It's just not a priority to them. It's not a priority, and I don't think it has been since Becky left and got pregnant and Ronda left after WrestleMania 35. But the problem is, you shouldn't have to wait for a certain person to get back in order to start booking these people properly. Ronda is not coming back anytime soon, obviously, if ever at all, at this point, now that she's gotten pregnant. Becky's had her baby. She's been out for over a year now. She could be back probably on the sooner side. People have said SummerSlam. That's definitely possible. My original prediction was she would be out until 2022, but we'll see. What what was I going to say? But yeah, no, you can't wait until Becky comes back. Like, oh, now we're going to start taking the division more seriously. Like, they have the talent. They have a lot of great women in that division. They called up Rhea. Shayna's there. Asuka is very good, but they don't treat any of these women as being important. Rhea might be the most important woman on that show aside from Charlotte. And even their feud feels colder than what it should be given their history. It's very disappointing. At Iwagu91, thank you for letting me know that you sent in the questions. Keep doing that, because for whatever reason, when you send in the questions over, like when you reply to my question about asking for questions, I don't get it. I don't get your questions for some reason. So thank you for alerting me. I appreciate it, because I got your questions because you let me know. I had to go like over to your profile and favorite them that way, but I don't know. Twitter's weird. So your questions were, do you see Randy Orton and Riddle becoming Raw Tag Team Champions? I think I got another question like this too. Yeah, at Team Awesome 418, thank you for sending that in as well. Yeah, I do actually. I think if you can hold it off long enough, which in this company will be fucking next week or the week after, but I would do it until SummerSlam. I would wait and I would do it at SummerSlam and do the match there. Them against AJ and Omos, and in the meantime, AJ and Omos can run through. Who do they got next? They got Viking Raiders. There was another team that I'm like, oh, they could do that feud. Viking Raiders you could do between now and SummerSlam. I was thinking maybe they'll be the ones to take the belts off of AJ and Omos, but they've barely been on the show, so at this point, like, who cares? Fuck, who is the other team? I know Elias and Riker, but again, who gives a shit? And they blew that off this week anyway. There was another team, not Miz and Morrison. Oh, Mason T-Bar, maybe. Maybe you can kind of do them for a little bit, or the Lucha House Party. I know, stop laughing, but that's an option if you really build them up hard enough. You can do those feuds in the coming months and then save RK Bro for SummerSlam. I would totally do that. I think an Orton Riddle feud would be cool, but this little side stepping that they've been doing with these two and putting them together as a tag team has honestly been a lot of fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So, yeah, I think you can put the belts on them, and I think they will. I know they've done this dynamic with a lot of people, Team Hell No, Maverick and Dane and NXT, but it works. Specifically with Orton and Riddle, it works, and it's a great use of both guys. Because Orton's coming off the Fiend feud, Riddle's coming off the run as U.S. champion. They got nothing better for them to do. I don't want to see Orton back in the main title picture. I don't want to see Riddle back in the U.S. title picture right now, feuding with Sheamus again. So putting them in the tag team title picture makes perfect sense, and they play off each other very, very well. So, yeah, I think they will be tag team champions before long. I would save it till SummerSlam when there's a real crowd there. You could do it at Money in the Bank. That, to me, feels like a SummerSlam match, but I guess they could do whatever they want. His second question, although Raw is still the flagship show of WWE, with its deal with Fox in two matches of its brand headlining this year's WrestleMania, would you consider SmackDown the main show instead? Raw will always be the flagship show. I mean, we had this discussion 2 years ago, when they first moved to Fox, and everyone was saying, oh, SmackDown's the A show. SmackDown, it's not the A show. In terms of quality, yes, it is. In terms of ratings, yes, it is. Raw will always be their baby. That has not changed. If you ask anyone, not in terms of quality, but like what is the flagship show, people will always say Raw. It's what it is. People, I know more people, for whatever reason, because Raw is just not good right now, I know more people that will make Raw destination viewing compared to SmackDown. Even though SmackDown's a far better show and they have just better people over there that are booked better and whatever, specifically Roman Reigns. Raw will always be the flagship show, even though the ratings don't reflect it. And like you said, SmackDown had 2 headlining matches at WrestleMania this year, which they should have. Because they had the Rumble winners too. That's why they headlined WrestleMania with both matches this year. Yeah, SmackDown's just not the main show. I don't look at it like, oh, SmackDown is the prize of the week, and then Raw is like the fallout, like what SmackDown used to be. It's not even like they're on equal playing field. I just think that it's Raw, and then it's SmackDown. Raw is just, more people talk about Raw than they do about SmackDown. I don't know if it's because SmackDown airs on a Friday, and less people watch it on a Friday, even though the ratings are better. I don't really know. But Raw will always be the top show, even though the current quality of it is just not good at all. His last question here. What match in NXT would you consider to be the best? I mean, if you're talking from last night, I thoroughly enjoyed... the main event was good. The triple threat was awesome. Probably the triple threat. I mean, the non-finish was shitty, but probably Gargano, Dunn, and O'Reilly in the triple threat was the match of the night last night. I also really like Kushida and Carmelo Hayes. The former Christian Casanova, who I know very well from Northeast Wrestling and other promotions here in the Northeast, from Massachusetts and Connecticut. I had a chance to meet him and interview him 5 years ago. And when I heard he got signed earlier this year, I was very happy. So, very happy to see him make his NXT debut. He's going to be a star, absolutely, beyond the Cruiserweight division. But yeah, otherwise, like the best NXT match of all time, probably still Gargano and Cole from TakeOver New York. And 25 is up there too from 2 years ago yesterday. But yeah, probably that one though, because that match was pretty fucking great. Was Gargano and Cole from TakeOver New York. I don't think that's what you're asking, but I just wanted to throw that in there. Let's see. We got, I think, a couple more questions here before we wrap it up. First, from @Colin_McAndrew. What would you like to see as the endgame storyline for the belt collector Kenny Omega? I mean, he's not going to drop them all at once. I think you can't... For me, I don't think you should have him lose that championship until Adam Page... And you can't have him lose any title, or you can't have him get pinned, is what I'm trying to say. You can't have him get beat for any championship until Hangman Page is the first one to beat him, hand him his first loss in 2 years or whatever it is. And... yeah, so you have him take the AEW title from him, and then you can have him start dropping the other championships. I was thinking Full Gear, because Full Gear would be 1 year, from the event, from when Kenny beat Hangman last year. Maybe it's just because I'm selfish, because I might be All Out this year, but they're going to be in Chicago, which I think is a hotter city than St. Louis. Not only that, but it's also going to be not just, talking about anniversaries. All Out was the 2-year anniversary of when Hangman failed to win the World Championship back in 2019. So there is the anniversary there as well. It depends on how many more matches you can get out of Kenny as champion. Realistically, you can get a bunch. I mean, you can do him and Darby, you could do him and Christian, they're doing him and Jungle Boy coming up on Dynamite. I guess they could do a Christian at All Out. I don't know, I would probably, if you're doing Jungle Boy in 2 weeks, in June, I would probably do the Christian match in July, their first match back in front of fans, and then do Hangman and All Out. I mean, they could wait until Full Gear, absolutely. Excuse me, I wouldn't complain about that, but I really do think that you can do it at All Out. In front of that hot Chicago crowd, and it just feels like the right time coming off that reaction that Page got at Double or Nothing. And if Omega faces someone else at All Out, what do you do with Page? I mean, I guess you can maybe have him face MJF. That's an option. I don't know. I would probably just do it at All Out. So once he drops the AEW Championship to Page, then you can... I mean, I think the Andrade match actually might be... Oh, no, that's before. The Andrade match, I think, is at the end of August. I don't know. I wouldn't have Omega get pinned anywhere until he... I mean, I guess you could say, oh, it doesn't count. It wasn't an AEW. I don't know. I'm not sure. I would have him lose first to Page. Maybe Andrade loses, and then they do a rematch, and that's when Andrade wins the AAA Mega Championship. For the Impact title, the TNA title is completely pointless. Get rid of that shit, but it's a great visual for him to walk out with it, but, like, who gives a shit about the TNA Championship? The Impact title, I don't know, because they're doing him and Moose next month. I thought Omega would lose it at Slammiversary, but again, I wouldn't have Omega lose before then, so... I mean, I guess you could always do like a triple threat or something at the Slammiversary pay-per-view. Maybe it's like Omega, Eddie Edwards, and Sami Callihan wins. I would have put the belt on Moose, but I guess it depends on whether Moose is leaving or not. I don't know, but yeah, I guess we'll see. If Moose wins next month or this month or whatever, that's awesome, but I just wouldn't have Omega get pinned before then. So that's what I see being the endgame for the storyline. Either way, he is dropping that AEW Championship to Hangman Page. There is no doubt in my mind that is what's happening. And let's see, final couple of questions here. First from @RJ_Marceau, my brother Mr. Marceau, his question was, who has more breakout star potential, Ty Conti or Red Velvet? Also, what is next for Cody? Oh god, I'll get to the Cody question in a second. For Ty Conti and Red Velvet, I think, that's a good question, because I think both are very good. I don't know, I just see more star potential in Ty Conti. Red Velvet has impressed me a lot. I mean, I really thought she would be like a substitute for Brandy. She'd fill in for her in the match, and then she'd go right back to Dark. And she's been on Dark. But she also had a really good match with Serena Deeb on Dynamite recently. The Jade match thoroughly impressed me from both women, Red Velvet and Jade. Ty Conti just seems, watching Dark last night and watching both women come out and hear the reactions they got, Ty Conti, I don't think has been on Dynamite as much as Red Velvet has, but she's more over for whatever reason. She's just Red Velvet's very likable, too. We need more character development from her, and actually Ty Conti as well, but I don't know. Ty could be a real star, I think, and both of them can be. I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Conti, but Red Velvet has thoroughly impressed me. I don't like the Red Velvet name. I mean, maybe there's probably significance behind it. I just think it's stupid. I guess then again, Orange Cassidy is too, but that's a comedy character. That's a little different. Either way, I think she's really good, and she can continue to improve like Ty. I think both of them can be women's champion at some point. If I had to pick just one, probably Ty. What's next for Cody? I have no fucking clue. They'll probably continue the Anthony Ogogo feud because they're doing a tag team match on Friday. Who even is it? Is it Cody and Lee Johnson versus like QT Marshall and Anthony or Aaron Solo? Look, who cares? This Factory and Nightmare Family shit is just terrible. It's not good. So, I have no fucking clue. I said this on Twitter, but like, here's an idea. I don't know if they would actually do this. Dustin Rhodes has a match on Friday against the bull rope match against Nick Comoroto, which he's probably losing and he should. Beyond that, what if Cody and Dustin kind of commiserate together and they're like, listen, we need to get back on track. Let's enter the tag team ranks again, because we really haven't seen them as a tag team at all in AEW. They had that first match against the Bucks years ago, and I think Cody... Did the Bucks win that? Yeah, I think the Bucks won. Pretty sure the Bucks won that. And it was a very good match. I think it was in the main event of, Fight for the Fallen? Or, not Fyter Fest. It was Fight for the Fallen. Yeah, you do that again, and maybe they're the ones. They've never beaten the Bucks, so that's the whole story there. And then they have to beat the Bucks with the tag team titles. I just don't know what else you do with them. I don't really want to see him back in the TNT title picture right now. Him and Miro might be interesting, but he shouldn't win. Is he going to lose again? I don't know. Like, he can't go for the world title because he just refuses to do it, and they put that stupid stipulation in place, which was dumb. I don't know. I honestly think the tag team division might not be a bad idea. Him and Dustin are great. Yeah, they already have a million fucking teams. But, like, as far as Cody goes, and I hate to, like, have them jump over everyone else in the division, like Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, I guess. But, like, what else do you do with them? Like, rekindle the feud with MJF? I don't think it's the right time for that. I think it might be too soon, even though it's been a year. Who else even is there for him to feud with? I mean, Moxley, but he neither of them are heels, and I don't think you should turn Moxley heel right now, and Moxley's leaving anyway. Who else even is there? Lance Archer, we've seen that. Miro, maybe, but I don't know. Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, I don't really care to see that. I don't know, I really don't. I think I would put him in the tag team division. That's the only thing I keep going back to, so I doubt they're going to do it, but that's my idea. Last two questions from @Scarlet1, best and worst of AEW Double or Nothing, 2021. Again, like I said, I thought it was a great show. The best, people are like, oh, the main event was my favorite, which I could totally see that. I liked the main event. I thought Stadium Stampede last year was better, personally. I think I'm in the minority on that, but I enjoyed last year's better, even though this year's was really good. I would say my favorite match was probably Bucks and Moxley and Kingston. I thought that match was awesome. The first couple of matches on that show were fantastic. The Battle Royal was perfectly executed. Deeb and Riho was great, which I didn't watch live. I watched it like yesterday, actually, but it was really, really good. Page and Cage was awesome. Great opener. I would probably go to the tag team title match. Although I also did enjoy the world title main event, or the world title triple threat, and the Stadium Stampede match. The worst of the show, easily Rhodes and Ogogo. Sheeta and Baker wasn't a great match. But they had a good enough match, and the right woman won. So, and it was a great reaction. Baker was over. I enjoyed it. Went a little too long, but it was a good match. I don't remember what else there was, other than that stuff. Obviously, I mean, I actually really enjoyed the Sting and Allen match. I keep forgetting to mention that, but Sting and Allen versus Page and Sky was very good as well. That was a very fun match. The crowd dug it. Sting got a great reaction. He looked good in there. Allen feels like a star. Sky and Page held their own. Very good match. So, yeah, the best definitely outweighs the worst from the show. The worst really only is Cody Rhodes and Ogogo. That match was just not good enough to warrant being on the show, and the finish was stupid. So that was like easily the most head-scratching moment of the entire show for me. And their last question for the episode, have you seen the Ultimate Warrior A&E and or Dark Side of the Ring documentaries? I have, at least the Dark Side of the Ring one. I haven't watched the Warrior A&E yet from not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that. I might watch it later, actually, because I've been wanting to watch it for a while. The Dark Side of the Ring one I did watch. I thought it was very good. Not the best they've done. Honestly, probably one of the weaker ones they've done. They left out a lot of stuff. They didn't really have a lot of talking heads. Like, why the fuck was Eric Bischoff in there? They didn't even talk about his WCW run, so why even mention it? Like, why even have him in there, you know? It was weird. I heard the A&E was better. I don't know, they've put on a lot of good Warrior documentaries. I haven't seen the Self-Destruction of the Warrior one from, 15, 16 years ago. I actually have it on DVD. I bought it at a local retail store like a year ago during Christmas because it was on sale for like $1. I haven't watched it yet. But like the first Warrior doc they did, obviously it was all like a fucking puff piece because they didn't mention any of the negative stuff for the most part. The WWE did right after he died, one of my favorite documentaries I've ever seen. Absolutely loved it. So if that's any similar, and hopefully they do mention some of the negative stuff, which I heard that they did actually, including like the conservative comments and him being like anti-gay and racist and stuff. I heard they did address at least some of it, or at least attempt to explain it, which is interesting. So, I'm going to watch that very, very soon. I plan on watching all the A&E documentaries soon. I just haven't had the time recently. I do watch the Dark Side of the Rings. I make a point to watch those because that's at least an hour. That's just easier to get through. But the A&E ones I'm planning on getting through at some point, starting with the Warrior one, either today or tomorrow or very, very soon because I heard it was good. Both were good. Both left out a lot of information. But I thought overall, if you put them together, it was a good production piece on Warrior for better or for worse. And that's going to do it, guys, for today's episode of #AskGSM, episode 392 for Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. Thank you, as always, for sending in the questions. If you want to send in a question to the show, please do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights on the wall, or on the wall itself, rather. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below on the comment section down below in this very comment section, or in this very video. I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. Have a great rest of the week, guys. Like I said earlier, check out my exclusive interview with Shayna Baszler from Monday right here in the channel. I would appreciate it. And an article form over on dailyddt.com. And we'll be right back here next Wednesday answering more of your questions. Now, I got to go off and celebrate my 26th birthday here today. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing yet. Probably going to eat somewhere and doing something. But I am happy there's actually no wrestling tonight. And usually I would be like, oh, look, I want to watch a wrestling show. But because there is so much wrestling in 2021, I'm actually very happy that there's no show on tonight. There's no Dynamite until Friday. Like last year, Impact was on. I had to go home and watch that after I was done. 2 years ago, there was nothing, which was nice. I don't know. I feel like there's been wrestling on my birthday for the last couple of years, which has been nice in certain respects. But in other respects, it's like I would rather just watch a movie because I watch wrestling all the fucking time. But anyway, guys, have a great one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, now 26 years old, and I'll catch your ass down the road.